Hi, and welcome to another episode of Authentically You, a web series that I'm basically presenting as Anna, the Black Pants Girl, to introduce you to real people. And it's turning out that my entire series for the rest of 2020 is going to be predominantly women. Although I will be interviewing men, I just have this I don't know, strong zest for women who are out there doing their thing and doing it boldly and um, lovely and basically living their truth without apologizing for it in any way and just enjoying their journey. So tonight I'm going to introduce you to somebody that I was blessed to meet through my dance classes. She actually came to my dance classes, and she's just a joy. If you can't tell by her smile, which I don't know how you couldn't, um, she does a lot of amazing things, and her name is Elizabeth. Is it Eaker or Aker?
So it looks like Eaker, but we do
Yeah,
say,
Aker.
yeah, like
Okay.
tell him to buy me an acre of land. That's
Okay, so Elizabeth Eaker, and it's so funny because I know her from her, I think, maiden name too, because that's in her Facebook profile. So it looks a lot like Atta Girl to me. So I've always kind of thought of her as Atta Girl,
nice.
Elizabeth Atta Girl. So this is Miss Elizabeth Eaker, or Mrs. Elizabeth Eaker. And I'd like to thank you for joining me, first of all, this evening.
Oh, thanks. I'm delighted to be here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, here's the cool part about what we're going to do is um, essentially we're going to introduce people to just real people doing what they do. And I know personally a little bit about your chosen path that you're walking as a person and a professional. Um, but where did your journey begin? Where did you start? And do you feel that where it started actually shaped where you ended up?
Well, the short answer to the last part is yes. I do feel like I've ended up where I thought I would start from a certain point of view. So, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I've been here since my family moved here when I was 4. So pretty much Knoxville is home.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up, graduated from public school, went to the University of Tennessee. And when I was small, I always wanted to be a teacher. And so in the first grade, I wanted to grow up and be a first grade teacher. And in the third grade, I wanted to grow up and be a third grade teacher. And then I got to middle school and I wanted to be a marine biologist or an astronomer. I didn't know which one. And then I decided that research was not for me. And so I went to high school and thought, well, maybe I'll teach history or maybe I'll teach English. And then I was playing in the marching band, and I also joined the advanced ensemble at my high school. And that's when I really just fell in love with the safety and community that a music classroom can provide. And I thought, that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to make this safe place for future kids in high school to just know that here is the place where all their weirdness can hang out and they can find other weird people and it'll be okay. And that's, I mean, some of my friends, the friends that I still have from high school are the ones from band and from choir.
Oh, wow.
So, and now that's not a large number because, I mean, I finished high school and went on with life and, college and grad school and career and but high school is where I really decided that music was going to be my career path.
Mm-hmm.
University of Tennessee, majored in music with a vocal concentration. So majored in voice and took all the education classes and finished my student teaching. And so it's funny because when I started college, I said, no way on God's green earth am I ever teaching middle school. You could just forget it. Not going to happen. No, 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 no.
It's called the awkward age because they're a beautiful place in between old enough to be like to do the hard stuff, but young enough that the hard stuff is really like super challenging for them. So they're in that middle zone. And if you're not equipped to cope with that, not just by learning, also by their personalities because they're all going through puberties and all that other jazz. So it's like, oh boy.
Right? I mean, middle school was a terrible time in my life. And I'm never going back there, never in a million years. And then I got to college and absolutely fell in love with the curriculum for middle school. And I was like, oh, maybe this would be fun. Maybe this could be fun. And then lo and behold, what was the job available? Middle school music. And so I started teaching in 1990. And
Right? I get you.
and no, it's fine. I started teaching in 1996, seven, and so I was teaching in the middle school and absolutely loved it. I fell in love with those kids, just that age group. You're right. They are in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I remember reading somewhere that when a caterpillar goes into its chrysalis, it doesn't, like, the whole thing turns into goo and then forms itself as a butterfly. And I thought, that's it. Elementary school kids are the cute little fuzzy caterpillars.
Right.
And juniors and seniors are starting to emerge as these butterflies, and middle school is the goo.
Yeah, it is the goo.
But they just need somebody to love on them and love them in their gooiness and just be gooey. And that's just what I did. So I did that for 16 years. And while I was teaching, I picked up a hobby for fun. Since I had my summers off, I started volunteering at the Oak Ridge Community Playhouse. I started auditioning for shows there. So that became like my summer hobby. So I'd teach all year, and then in the summertime, I'd go play in the musical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not literally play an instrument, but I just like play and have fun.
Right.
And sing and dance and act goofy myself for a change. Wigs and costumes and makeup, and it was glorious. My life until 2014. 2014, my son was born, and I said, "Peace out, Beard Middle." And I love everybody there, but my husband and I decided that we could swing it if I stayed home with my son, and so I was able to do that. From home, then other organizations started reaching out. First, I worked for a dance studio teaching musical theater to 9 to 14-year-olds, 7 to 14-year-olds.
Wow.
And that was a culture shock, because that's 14-year-olds, and it took me about 4 months to decide that the 7-year-olds were okay.
Right. Yeah.
About 4 months, and I was like, oh, okay, no, I do like these kids, and we're good. So, and then the homeschool co-ops found me too. So I have some connections with people in the homeschooling community here in Knoxville, and one of the co-ops reached out and said, we need a new choir director. Would you be interested in coming to teach 1 hour a week? Oh, gee, 1 hour a week and no concerts, all of the fun and none of the pressure? Sure, sign me up. This sounds great.
Yeah, that does sound great.
So I started doing that, and then the following year I picked up a second co-op that needed a new choir for their co-op as well. I started a treble choir with that group, and so this year I'm still managing, in the middle of a pandemic, managing two homeschool co-ops that have 5 classes between them, and so that's my income at the moment. It's been an adventure and a little bit of pressure, but it's still a really good experience. And so then a year ago, I got to start working with the Knoxville Handel Society. I did get a master's degree in choral conducting. At some point along my teaching career, I took a year off and got a master's in conducting. So that's opened some neat doors. I've been able to work with the Knoxville Handel Society as their assistant conductor, and I've also led 2 pit orchestras for some community theater here, working with the Word Players, which is another group here in Knoxville.
Wow. So music really is kind of your whole professional, like, palette, because you're painting with lots of different colors right now, which is really, really cool, and I'm sure it keeps you Not easily bored.
This is true. There's not really very many dull days. And if I'm bored, that's my fault. Um,
Understandable.
but there are some times when I'm like, okay, I'm done. Stick a fork in me. I come home, I take a shower. I'm putting on clothes
Mm-hmm.
and feeding the economy. We're not cooking tonight.
Yes,
We're supporting the local economy.
that's right. Support small business. Go eat
So,
out. Absolutely. Well, so as being a teacher amidst the pandemic that we are in at this point, because it's still not over, although a lot of people like to hope that it is or pretend that it is what it is. But the question is how when I'm assuming you're doing a lot of your stuff remotely. So you're probably doing kind of things, or are you actually venturing out with the homeschool kids and seeing them?
we are in person for the homeschool co-ops.
Cool.
Um, so we have the CDC guidelines in place, and I've taken the leadership or the suggestions from my national organizations, the National Association for Music Education, for distancing and masks and ventilation and aerosol spread and sterilization and all those fun things. So it's a challenge because ordinarily I'd teach choir, and so we'd sing for an hour and 15 minutes, and we don't get to do that now. So we go outside and sing and do sight reading things outside, and then we come back inside and do some music theory stuff. I've kind of changed my choirs to be a little less focused on choral performance, since we can't stand shoulder to shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my singers are brand new kids to singing. They've never sung anything outside of just singing in church.
Right.
Everybody else in the congregation.
Right.
A lot of my focus this year is kind of on building their understanding of what modern worship music, how it works and how it's put together. And so hopefully when they're done, they'll have an understanding of how chords are structured, how songs are structured, how you can take an old hymn and change, add a drum beat or add a bass riff, and completely change the flavor of this 200-year-old hymn.
Right.
So right now I'm laying a lot of groundwork, but hopefully as the semester and the year progress, I can start to actually do some more creative collaboration for them to collaborate, and then also to do some creating. And
well, that's awesome. So how is the Handel Society mitigating everything?
Handel Society's on hiatus.
Okay.
Had a concert scheduled we had a scheduled concert in June, and that had gotten canceled, and then they canceled the concert that was supposed to be November 1st. I'm so disappointed too. It was going to be the Brahms Requiem, and it was going to be gorgeous, and it was going to be on All Saints Day of all things, like the day after sing the Mass for the Dead. I mean, how cool is that?
Wow. Yeah, no, that's good. The Lutheran girl in me is very pleased. So
Right. Liturgical is like, but
I get it. I do.
we're just everything is on hold. So I'm supporting the local theaters where I can by buying remote tickets or making tickets for remote opportunities, and
and that brings up an interesting thing that a lot of people may not think about, that a lot of theater companies and theater groups have actually chosen to do some productions that are streamed, so that you can actually buy tickets for a streaming of a show or something along those lines, so that you can actually still support them. Because it is really hard for those of us who love live entertainment, live theater, live music. It's been really hard because most of us haven't been out since March, to see the things that used to make us happy and give us a little levity. And if you are looking at ways to actually support those artists, there are ways, but you may not have thought of it. So go to their websites and find out if they're doing that stuff.
Right. I can tell you about a couple of key people that I follow actually here in Knoxville. There's a jazz pianist named Wendell Werner, who does a concert every Thursday night on Facebook Live.
Awesome.
So then you can drop little tips in his tip jar.
He has a virtual tip jar?
Yeah, well, he's like, here's my Venmo, or here's my
That's awesome.
Patreon link or whatever, so you can support. So Wendell's been doing that for months.
Oh wow.
I think he started doing that in April.
Yeah.
So and then the Oak Ridge Playhouse, the last weekend in September. So the Oak Ridge Playhouse is doing a play called The Alabama Story, which is a really interesting story about the 1950s in Alabama, and a book that tells the story of a black rabbit and a white rabbit, and it becomes like this whole like touchstone spark for racial tensions. And they've actually staged it. It's a small cast, so they've staged it and they've filmed it, and they're going to make that available to stream, and you can pick your night. So it's a $20 ticket if it's just for one person, or $30 for a couple or a family to watch it. And so you pick your night, and then you get a 24-hour window to watch their production.
That's awesome.
Brilliant. And then the word players are doing, and now I can't remember if this one's a staged reading. They do a lot of staged reading series, and I don't remember if it's staged or actually memorized and blocked and the whole thing, but they're doing a 2-person play based on the Loving case, the interracial, the Supreme Court to abolish the rule that said interracial people could be,
right.
Racial marriages can't happen, right? So they're doing this. They're doing it outside.
Oh wow.
Aaron Presbyterian, and then they're doing it at the Square Room, and they're requiring distancing and limiting the audience to 50 people, but they're still trying to get people an opportunity to do the shows. Knoxville Children's Theater is still doing performances, and so again, they're just limiting their audiences, and everybody is wearing masks and doing the distancing and washing their hands and all of the things that we have to do. But I miss. This is the second year in a row that I said I was going to audition for The Sound of Music, and I don't get to.
Oh. Is it an annual thing that you can audition for The Sound of Music?
Oak Ridge Playhouse was going to do it last November, but they couldn't get the rights because of the touring show. And then they're going to do it this November, and now it's the pandemic.
Right. Well, goodness gracious.
And how do you solve a problem like Maria? I'm going to sing that song on stage, and maybe a few more, but for the problem of Maria at this time, you hand her a mask and some hand sanitizer, and you wish for the best. Your hands and keep your distance from those 7 children. You don't know,
because that's going to happen. That's impossible. I don't know how that works. So you talked about when you started to actually discover that music was where you wanted to head with your life. You said that the turn happened probably in about high school. You were playing in the band and everything like that. Was there a particular, what therapists call an aha moment, where something clicked inside you and you just knew, this is really what I want to do? Or was it just something that's been a journey?
I think it's so yes,
all of the above.
I can tell you about a click. So
okay.
One of my click moments actually happened because I had said that I wanted to major in music in college, and my dad was very concerned because music programs are always the first things to get cut. And so he wanted me to double major in another field of education so that I could have, a dual certification and have something in case of a backup plan. And that just never really sat right with my heart, but if I have a backup plan, that makes it feel like I'm not going to succeed.
Right.
So people that know me well know that my faith is very important to me, and I've and So I had gone on a mission trip with my youth group. That's the summer after my senior year. So I'm getting ready to start UT, and I'm on this mission trip and talking to this counselor and just pouring my heart out about I just don't know what to do because I don't have any peace because I want to do this and I just and but it's I and it came to a point and I said, okay, I am just going to do this. I'm going to major in music and the chips are going to fall and it's going to be, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Darn it. So I went and I told my dad that I was not going to now, and telling your dad, like tell your dad. I told my dad I was not going to major in something else in addition to music, that I wanted to just major in music education because I felt like God was calling me to music education. And if God was calling me to it, then he was going to make sure that I had a job at the end of it. And so I was going to be faithful. And so my dad, who of course has to have the last word, said, so I guess God is your backup plan.
Wow.
Right back with, no, Dad, God is my whole plan.
Hey, and it's true. Those of us who,
I mean, almost 30 years later,
yeah,
here I paid the bills.
right.
No.
Yeah. So did your dad ever say, okay, so yeah, you're doing it?
He didn't get a chance to do that because he passed away in my senior year.
Oh, I gotcha.
But I did. So I had all of senior recitals and all of those things, right? So I had the dress and I had the music and I had the accompanist, and my dad and he was not going to make it to my recital. Like, we just knew he wasn't going to make it to my recital. So my accompanist came to my house because we had this baby grand piano that my mother used to make us all sit down on and try to make us practice, right?
Right.
So, but I got dressed up in my recital dress in my living room, in my mom and dad's living room, and my accompanist came over and I got to sing my entire recital set for my dad.
That's awesome.
So
That's so awesome.
I think he's proud of me.
Oh, of course he's proud of you.
Have seen me, I think he would be proud.
No, and it's so hard for us who have lost parents to think about the what ifs and the wishing that they could have seen some of the things that the seeds they've planted and the faith that they've given you to actually go and do this without your quote unquote backup plan in his mind, which made him feel better.
Right.
That's a parent thing. I get it.
Yeah, I can't fault him for it. Not a bit.
Nope. But when you think about the firm foundation that he provided for you to feel secure enough to say, and go to him to say, so not gonna do the backup plan like you had suggested. Love you, but no. That's huge, because I was expecting, no offense, so I decided to go 100% and put all of my eggs in the music basket, and I was just not going to mention it.
Oh no, I'm a terrible liar.
Okay, well, then that's fair. Yes. One question, you're like, yeah, no, I'm not doing anything else, Dad. I don't know what else to say.
No.
Wow. Well, then that's I think you did the right thing.
Moment. I think so too. And like I said, it's funny because it did come out, and my best friend growing up also majored in music at another college, and she and I, so we graduated high school from two different high schools, but we were at the same church, and so she majored in music at her school, I majored in music in mine, and then we interviewed for the same two jobs, like 2 days.
Wow.
So she got the one and I got the other.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really
that
fun.
Was meant to be.
Cool still, but
that's so fabulous though. Well, you both ended up doing what you wanted, which is inevitably what we all hope to accomplish with our lives. And speaking of accomplishments, is there anything that you have done or accomplished so far that fills you with a sense of pride when you think about your professional life? It also could be something that fills you with pride in your personal life, because you're not just a teacher and a music director and a assistant conductor of the Handel Society. I mean, you are a woman with a family. So what in your mind fills you with just a sense of, I'm very happy that that happened. I feel good about this.
So, professionally, I'm really proud of myself for going back to school and getting my master's degree. Because when I finished my undergrad degree, I was like, and I don't want to go to school anymore. And everybody said, oh, you'll regret it. You'll never go back. You'll never go back. You'll never go back. And I went back. I taught for 6 years. And then I was like, okay, I need a break. I'm burnt out. I need to learn something I don't know. So I packed up and moved myself and my cat to Lexington, Kentucky for a year or 15 months and cranked out a master's degree.
Wow.
So, so I'm pretty proud of that.
You should be. Yeah, you absolutely should be.
One of my higher achievements. So with regards to the theater side of me, I have gotten to play a few dream roles that I always grew up with.
Ooh, do tell.
Oh, in 2008, I got cast as Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, and so I know.
Wow.
And so 3 months after that, I got to meet Bill Snyder at the Tennessee Theater, and he was doing a backstage tour with something else I was doing. So My Fair Lady actually opened a door for me to then be in a 2-person play at Pellissippi about John and Abigail Adams.
Oh, wow.
Actor that had created this show.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays John, but the woman who usually plays Abigail couldn't come, and so they found me and were like, hey, can you
That's awesome.
So I got to do that. And then I was in The Odd Couple with a brand new theater company called Foothills Community Players out of Maryville. And that introduced me to a friend named Mitch Moore, who's a filmographer, who's a film guy now. And so I was in one of his short films, which sounds cool, but no, it's not like, well.
That's funny.
So I got to be in, and that was then submitted for a film festival, and so and that was like a whirlwind of adventure. So it went My Fair Lady, this and that, and then 2009, my mom was like, okay, your dad's gone, we've got this last chunk of money, here's your last chunk from the trust that his life insurance left.
Mm-hmm.
Save it for a wedding that might never happen. I'm 30 whatever at this point, right? Save it for a wedding that might never happen, or go to Italy with this choir. And I'm like, let's go to Italy.
Yeah, I would go to Italy. Yeah.
And so spent 10 days traveling around with the women's choir from the University of Kentucky, and
wow,
beautiful places. But then the end of 2009, I met this man that would end up becoming my husband. So I met him in November of 2009, and we got married in October of 2010.
Wow.
So, boom. But when you're 36, there's no point. I mean, like, what are you waiting for, really? One of the things that I'm kind of proud of is that I waited until he came along, because I mean, there were a couple of turkeys. I mean, there were a couple of nice guys too that just weren't for me, and but I have this sweet, wonderful husband who's really supportive of the music that I do,
mm-hmm.
and his own amazing journey of faith and career changes and
mm-hmm.
We've just, been on this amazing journey for 10 years.
That's awesome.
So then while we were engaged, I got cast with the Foothills Community Players, the Maryville group again, as Marion Peru and the Music Man. And so here I am, engaged to this guy, but kissing these 2 other guys. And I'm like,
right.
Hey, babe, Elizabeth loves Chris. Marion loves Harold, but that's over there. Like, Elizabeth loves Chris. Let's be very clear. That
did he have a little anxiety about it?
I don't think so. I don't think so. He did come to.
Usually they understand.
I don't know if he came to every show because he couldn't stand not being around me, or if he just had to watch. I don't know.
He was checking in on you.
No.
I love it.
No, he trusts me, and I trust him, and and the guy playing Harold was married, and so, but it was just like, you just have to say that for people that aren't in the theater world, and it's hard watching that happen. So
But I think that it's part of, like, that's just that's an expectation of that career. Like, if you're going to be in some sort of theatrical career, you're going to be mourning people that you don't have an actual relationship with it as a person. You're going to be kissing those people. You're going to be, I mean, that's just part of the journey.
yeah,
And you have to sell that part of the journey. So you better make it look real,
right,
or there's going to be people in the audience who go,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
So
That, yeah, it's part of it. But what I love about what you said is, I think it is extremely, I hate to say this, and I don't mean this in any negative, because I don't want to say, I think it's courageous to wait to find the right person and not just jump into marriage. Because I jumped into the first one at 21 after being engaged at age 16. And I always said, if I had a daughter who came to me at 16 and said, I'm engaged, I would just basically Velcro her to the ceiling and say, no, you're not. So thanks.
right.
Yeah. So, my mother actually was someone who waited until her 30s to actually get married. And she traveled a lot and she did some amazing things. And I think that women, if you have that spirit of wanting to do your education and maybe explore travel and other things, that you don't want to have to necessarily always negotiate with another person, there's nothing wrong with taking that risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no one, thankfully, we're not in a day and age where someone is going to look at us as women and say, well, it's never going to happen for you because you're 27, you'll never get married. I mean, that's the kind of attitude that used to happen back, I don't know when, because I didn't do my research on that, so I can't tell you.
No, that's okay. Oh, I got my share of that too in church.
Oh,
I got my share of that too. And
okay.
well, Elizabeth, when are you going to settle down and get married? And I just want to go, when are you going to lose that 20 pounds? I don't know. I mean, I never actually said that because I'm nicer than that in like face to face, but that's what my heart said. I was like, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I would rather be single forever than married to a turkey. So
I get it. I do.
not a turkey. And I found one. He's not a turkey.
That's awesome.
He's just the best. And yeah, we've been on some amazing adventures, Chris. So
Well, that's always the way that you want to do a relationship, a partnership. It's like two people who just get it, and they start off on that new journey of life together. And they've got each other's backs, and they give each other a healthy dose of freedom as well to explore what makes them tick. And a healthy relationship allows for that, for sure. Absolutely. So the big question is, if you looked back on everything and you thought about if anything you would have done differently, was there anything that sticks out?
So I was a really ridiculously awkward child. And if I could go back, I was thinking about, I think there were a couple of boys that I wish that I had taken a risk on. But, whatever.
I get that. No, I think a lot of it is we realizing those little opportunities, because I have a few that I would be like, if I had the guts back then to just say, hey, would you like to go on a date or something along those lines, I wasn't that girl.
No. And the other thing, I wish that I had decided that dance was important as it is to me now. I wish that I had the dance skills that
You have them.
I don't, well, I have them now, sort of, maybe a little, but only because I started taking dance classes at age 30. 30.
Doesn't matter when you start. Doesn't
So it's
matter.
right, it doesn't matter, but I would like things, I wish that I had had more of that dance discipline earlier, but
And I can understand the desire, but it's a lot like the disciplines you've already learned, like practicing, and any kind of instruments that you've ever learned involves practice, and the sourness of the beginning when your parents are like, maybe this isn't a good idea because,
Brene Brown calls those the cleaned up version of her phrase is the terrible first time.
oh, yeah, that would be a good way to describe it.
You know, because you're just bad at it and you feel very vulnerable and very awkward and you hate feeling vulnerable and awkward and you hate not being good at something, and so you don't
Yeah.
try, don't want to suck, and so you just don't, and that's when we like lose our fire, and we lose like,
Mm-hmm.
and that really model for, and then also for my students, like I want them to see that I am taking risks, that I am trying new things, that we're all gonna sit down and learn to play the ukulele together, by golly, because we can't sing right now, so we're all learn to play the ukulele.
Hey, I think it's great.
And
You're
so
teaching them a self accompaniment
exactly,
skill. That's huge.
and then they can use that to noodle doodle doodle and compose.
Mm-hmm.
They,
I think that's great.
yeah.
So I think if you had the opportunity to go back and give your younger self just a couple of words of advice, what would you say to a younger you? Because inevitably, this is advice that somebody who might be watching this may need to hear right now.
Right. I would tell younger Elizabeth that there are people that really do like her, that she really has some likable qualities, and that she is really likable. It took me probably until I was 20 to realize that I was a likable person.
Okay, you broke up a little there. What age?
20. I was
Wow,
20
girl. Okay.
before I finally had that, oh, like I'm not a pain in their butt. They're not tolerating me. They really do like, I'm not just being tolerated.
Right.
That I was really, that my presence was appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that I had realized that sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And then and I wish that had sunk home sooner, because it probably was another 10 years before I was really happy in my skin. And I'm still working on that, just
It's a work in progress.
So,
and I think all of us as women go through periods of time where we're continuing to have that work in progress kind of journey, just because we do experience different things that change physically, different, our bodies go through so much. I mean, you've had a child, you know so it's like we go through all of this, and it's like you have to adjust every time, no matter what the situation is. Even if you are a adoptive parent, your whole mindset has to change, because now you're responsible for another person. You know what I mean? There's so many different like little variables that just shift, and you go through that little period of time where you get the butterflies and go, can I do this? I don't know if I could do this. What was I thinking? Maybe I bit off more than I could chew here.
Yes, why didn't I just cancel class and call it good?
Yeah.
We're caught in the middle of a pandemic before with a mask outside.
I get it. I do.
Weather.
But no, I think you are. So I'm going to confirm for you, because You are extremely likable, and I adore you. And I at the beginning of the pandemic, for people who don't know you, she started this little porch singing series that she was doing on her Facebook, and she's actively taking requests, which I was impressed about. But it was so nice to hear somebody just out there doing what made them feel alive and happy, and give a little bit back to others who were wanting that joy as well, because it was really scary when we first went into lockdown. So we had never been in a situation where it was like, we have to protect ourselves, and that means you can't leave your house.
It was the craziest.
Yeah, like, I don't know, and I tell people, you know, because we just experienced 9/11, which was yesterday. I said 9/11 had shades of feelings of not knowing where to go, what to do. You were stuck at you stayed at home because you didn't know. So there were shades of it, but nothing like this. This was like a okay. So hopefully it'll get back to normal at some point, but you know,
Yes.
like,
Time we persevere.
absolutely. And we are actually at the place where I get to ask you the 10 quick fire
Okay.
questions. And if now, being an actress, I'm assuming you've at least watched one episode of Inside the Actor's Studio.
Yeah.
Okay. I really enjoy it. I think it's a really nice chance to see somebody that always plays somebody else really sort of break down their career a little bit and talk about decisions that they've made. So the 10 questions I'm going to ask were originally created by Bernard Pivot for Bouillon de Culture. I am probably killing that. And
Come on, you were a ballet dancer. You should know how to sing these.
I know how to write it, and I know how to say the ballet words. And
Fair
then
enough.
I have tried to learn French, and I am annoyed by the amount of letters that you don't pronounce.
I tried to learn French too because a parent once requested a French madrigal, and so I
Mm.
was like, "Hey, I will teach this choir a French madrigal," and nobody learned it. But uh, it
Well,
was hard. It was
yeah.
this really, I mean, it was a very, very, very difficult piece, and it was beautiful, but
Yes.
it just could not wrap their brains around singing in French and singing this. And I was like, "Well, we gave it our best shot.
No,
We're done."
absolutely. And that's okay. And I
Yeah.
love French things. I do. I love French cuisine. I love French fashion. I Paris is one of the places I desperately would love to go. Um and yet I sat and tried to learn French through, what is it? What's that? Rosetta Stone? I
Oh,
got to écrit, which I think is reading. I don't know, remember what it is. But there's letters that you don't pronounce, and I just feel like you could save money by not including those letters. Just reduce your problems. But anyway, the 10 questions were made famous on that French series, but then most of us in America learned that this was the way that James Lipton ended his Inside the Actors Studio. So they're not meant for you to overthink. Just say how you feel. If you do need to give a little explanation, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to go, I just want one word answers. No, you're,
okay.
do what makes you happy. Okay, so here we go. What is your favorite word?
Grace.
Good word. What's your least favorite word?
See, I jotted these down yesterday, and it's on the back of my shopping list. I went to the grocery store, and so it's like somewhere else. My least favorite word has got to be stupid.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
That moment in rehearsal where everything just locks in.
Where you
Goosebumps.
turn that corner, right?
And it's just like, and you suddenly have this magical musical moment. And it's always in a rehearsal, it's almost never in a performance. hands down.
Yeah,
That
that's,
we're just synergy of
yep,
love.
it clicks. What turns you off?
Crappy attitudes.
All right. And you can edit this however you darn well please, but what's your favorite curse word?
Oh, I love picking this one because it's dag nabbit.
That's a good word. I can't even say that. Dag nabbit. Dag nabbit?
Dag nabbit.
That's a good word. What sound or noise do you love?
My son, when he belly laughs, best sound ever.
I can see that. What sound or noise do you hate?
Whining or excessive tapping.
Excessive which?
Tapping.
Really? Okay. Not dancing, tap dancing.
No, 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 like tapping their fingers, tapping their pencil, tap, 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 tap. Stop it.
You're like, okay, it's enough now. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I've thought about becoming a spiritual director or a life coach.
Oh, I could so see that.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. What profession would you not like to do?
Anything in administration. Do it. I can do it and I can do it well, but it is not my happy place.
Right.
And
So,
all of my organizational skills have been learned as an adult skills. So
I can get that. That makes sense. And our last question for this evening. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
well, he says this to me all the time. He says, "Sweet girl, I am so proud of you." And that's what I think he'll say when I show up. I am so proud of you, sweet girl.
And I think that he will definitely say that. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I feel like this was a beautiful revelation for people who maybe have been at different crossroads like you have been and have thought, I'm afraid to take that leap, but no, I'm going to take that leap. Um, and I think it's so important to really listen to people's experiences. There are so many of us who are at different places in our lives where we're going to come across these experiences and have to make tough decisions. And I think you have basically said, trust your beliefs, trust your faith, and don't be afraid to take that leap.
Yeah. I think you summed that up really well, Anna. That's exactly it.
Yeah. Well, it has been a genuine pleasure talking to you tonight, and I hope that everything chorally, vocally returns to normal, where you can sing out loud and spray particles of nonsense into the air so that no one has to worry about getting sick. And that is my wish for you for the remainder of this year as well as the years to come.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope that we can dance together again soon.
And we will. For sure. Absolutely. Well, this has been Authentically You, and I'm Anna, the Black Pants Girl, because legit, I am wearing them right now. And thank you for tuning in, and have a great night.
Thank you, Anna. Bye.
You did great.
Thanks.
That was awesome. That was awesome.